Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Spooky and I'm going to be doing a Dark Souls 3 Ashes of Ariandel DLC breakdown. As soon as it first starts, we see a lone soul wandering this icy wasteland, going through forests full of trees that are covered in snow, and then we eventually cross a bridge. This whole area reminds me of the painted world of Ariamis. The next thing we see is a woman that seems to resemble a firekeeper, who I'll talk about later. Then the next thing we see is possibly the first boss, who we see whipping himself as probably a form of punishment. There's not much known about this boss yet, except that he wears a feathery garb. We get a close-up of what seems to be his face later on. I'm not entirely sure, but it's quite possible that that could be his face. Next, it cuts away to a guy who is in the prostration gesture. Now, I'm not sure if he's the new NPC that is rumored to be the painter, but later on you'll see how that kind of could make sense. But as of now, I don't know a whole lot about him, but except the fact that he plays an important part in the DLC. Now we see the woman from the beginning again, who I said resembled a firekeeper, and we hear the man in the background say, "Then show my lady flame." That just kind of goes to show that she's probably a firekeeper. And now's where it gets interesting. We see the words flash on screen, Dark Souls. Now, I'm not sure if what leads after this is relevant, but we see a wolf on a cliff that resembles Sif. Now, I'm not sure if it is Sif or if it's just supposed to resemble him, because I do see that we fight wolves in this DLC, so it could just be a coincidence, but I still thought that was a really cool throwback. The next thing we see is a new enemy. It's one of the first new enemies we see, and it's a man. I'm assuming it's a man, it could be a creature, that has horns or antlers on his head. It could be on his head, it could be on his helmet, so his armor, but this is a pretty big buff enemy, and he uses a double-sided great axe, from what I could tell, that has an AoE effect, similar to the one that we already know in Dark Souls 3, that kind of shatters the ground and stuns you and can knock your poise down. So this enemy looks to be pretty terrifying, and I'm sure will pose a great threat. So I'm excited to see what happens with that. I don't know if we can get his armor or his weapons, but that is really cool. Now we see sort of a desolate Undercroft area, possibly under the castle, that has these creatures that seem to resemble flies. I don't know, their eyes kind of, that's what it reminds me of, and they're feasting off of the remains of souls. So I'm sure that this is going to come with a whole new, poison, resistant type thing that we don't know about yet, but they're creepy nonetheless. The next thing that we see is the first new magic, which seems to resemble White Dragon's Breath. It's an ice type spell. I'm sure will be very viable in both PvE and PvP. We also get a taste of the new Miracle, which looks to be a frisbee-like ball of light that you can throw at enemies and it comes back to you, kind of like a boomerang. So that, I'm sure, is going to be really OP when it first comes out, but as we know, Holy in PvE is just mainly targeted towards, skeletons, undead, stuff like that. So I'm excited because that's something with a completely new, moveset and animation completely, so I'm really excited to see what they do with that. Now we see the man that I recognize to be known as the painter give us this slip of paper or cloth that is drenched in blood, and he says, "The ashes have come at last." So I'm not entirely sure what relevance this has to the DLC, but I'm sure it's going to be important. Now we see what seems to be the Lord Vessel from Dark Souls 1 with a man laughing in the background. Now this room is slowly starting to fill up with blood. I'm not sure if it's blood of the bosses we've been killing or what, but this is very close in resemblance to the Lord Vessel, and that could definitely be another reference to Dark Souls 1. Now we get a little bit of a taste of the bosses that are going to be in this DLC. Now I'm not entirely sure what the relevance is of having the bosses we've already fought being shown in the trailer. We see Osarios, the Consume King, and we see one of the princes. So I'm not sure if those are going to be important to access the DLC, if you have to defeat them first, or if we're going to be fighting the same boss in a different form. I'm not sure how that's going to work. But there are 2 new bosses that we see for sure. As you see here, this is one of the ones that I talked about in the beginning of this video. The guy that was whipping himself in the back of that long hallway. When the guy that was in the feathery garb. Now, this is what I take to be his face. This is what I take to be him. And it's pretty terrifying. I'm really excited to fight him. I'm not sure what his tactics are. I'm not sure if his whip is going to be one of his weapons. If so, that's going to be interesting. Another one we see is this godlike boss that shoots arrows or spears. I take it to be arrows is what it looks like from the trailer. But he shoots arrows from the sky in like this big area of effect. I am just going to say now that this is going to be a strong boss. I don't care what you say. This is going to be a strong boss. Because he already has, I'm sure he's going to have miracles on his side, some sort of lightning, sunlight spear, something similar to, the other boss. So I'm really excited to see what they do with these bosses, and I really hope that they're going to be original and unique, something that we can remember and not just another reskin. So there were a couple of things that I didn't mention that were also in the trailer, and a couple of things that weren't in the trailer that I found leaked online. The first thing is something called the Hollow Arena, which is going to be a PvP-oriented area only. Kind of like in Dark Souls 2, how there was the Brotherhood of Blood had their own area. So there's going to be a place called the Hollow Arena that is just specifically for PvP. So that's going to be really cool. I'm sure matchmaking is going to be a nightmare. So be prepared for that. However, they did do a better job with being able to play with your friends and stuff in this one. So kudos FromSoft. But that's going to be cool nonetheless. Something new to do, a new place to invade and to fight. So that's going to be awesome. Another thing is there is a new, I'm not sure if it's a weapon and that's its ability, or if it's a enchantment, but there is this new buff that I saw that you can put on a weapon. It looked kind of like a dark magic or maybe an ice enchantment. It looked to be a great sword, so I'm not sure if it's like a sword that we can put an enchantment on, or if it's a sword that's its ability, its weapon art. So we will see, but the release date is October 25th for this DLC, and the Season Pass is also available. It's $5 cheaper if you buy the Season Pass than it is to buy each individual DLC. There's 2 DLCs. No word on the second one yet, or when it's going to be released. But there are 2 DLCs, and it's $30 for both, or $24.99 for the Season Pass. But again, it does come out on October 25th on all platforms, PC, Xbox One, PS4, etc. So thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this. Comment below and let me know what you think about the DLC, about the trailer, anything Dark Souls 3 related, or anything at all. But I'll talk to you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching.